Okay, if you could focus back here, I'd appreciate it. Okay, Janina, would you start and share anything that you experienced just in case you have to switch and stuff in the middle?
Sure. So in the beginning, it was more an experience than seeing anything. And I was experiencing this limitlessness, the endless opportunity, just the vastness that there is in the Father. And then I saw it was like timelines, healing of timelines. And then it was the image of these 10, it was this huge kitchen, almost like a cooking competition. And there was these 10 benches with each one had a liquidizer on. And everybody had the same basic recipe, but everybody had one different ingredient that they put into their smoothie. And it was like saying it's an experiment that you can tap into a timeline and alter one thing and see how it comes out. And there was somebody running. I got the impression that it was like an urgency to do these timelines. And then the number 10 came up very, very strongly. And I was asking about the 10, and I felt that it was 10 generations ago. Like we are to redeem 10 generations ago. And then I was thinking about the 10, and the thing that I remembered was between Yeshua and Judas. Am I saying it right? Tamar. Between Yeshua and Tamar was 10 generations. It took 10 generations from Tamar to David. Am I saying it right now?
I don't know.
Tamar to King David was 10 generations. From King David to Yeshua was 10 generations. Am I right?
I think you're right. Now I know what you're talking
This
about.
idea came to me. 10 generations is purifying a timeline.
Interesting. Okay.
That was what I got.
Cool. Thank you, Janina. All right. Would you nominate someone else to go next?
I can't see on my screen, but I know my homie is there, so I will nominate him.
Okay.
Let me. The mic is on. I didn't get that much. I was pressing in, but I kept on hearing expansion of the heart or the heart expansion. I don't know what is that, what that is all about. But also, I don't know if it's a word for everyone or it's a word for me, but it feels like some of us, the garden of our hearts that needs to be cultivated, something like that. The garden of the heart that needs to be cultivated and heart expansion. It feels like the Lord wants to expand our hearts. Whatever that means, I don't know. But also, it's like our hearts interfacing with the heart of the Father. And I don't know if the Lord is going to give us access into the heart of the Father, But when it comes to the heart of the Father, I kept on hearing new wineskin. Yeah. So all these things didn't make sense to me, but I hope somebody can share some light there.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, would you like to nominate someone else to go next?
Robbie.
Hi. When I engaged, I don't really know what it's all about, but I did see something. So what I saw was like my team or my angels, um, they showed me pancakes. And I was like, okay. Like at first I was like, why pancakes? And then when I asked that, the pancakes turned into wheels. So I felt like I was traveling somewhere, like I was on a trip or something. And I was like, this is interesting. Don't know specifics where I was going, but I felt like then just as I engaged around pancakes, that I felt like it was like, I feel like pancakes are a food that is like a celebrating type food, something that it's fun. It's a journey, of, I feel like that maybe this was interpreted as a journey that would be fun, that would be, you know, uh, not a burden, not as a negative thing. Like it really was a treat, to where I was heading and thing. And I felt like it may be that I just got this feeling like maybe it's, just surprisingly, like God was just saying like, hey, I am going to move you at some point. You're going to go to a different location, or something. So I saw that, but I just, I don't know all the details. I felt like there was something with the syrup, but I'm not really sure. I just felt like there was just something about the syrup brought like it was, you're not really supposed to have sugar all the time or anything, but sugar is also something that brings some sweetness into things in life, So I don't know why. I just felt like that was part of what was being presented to me. Do I know this deep spiritual value to it all? Not really, but I do feel like that there's something to it. So that's what I got.
Awesome. Who would you like to nominate?
Stu Patricia.
Hello. Sorry, I was busy looking up that 10 generation information that she shared. And sorry, let me go back to the screen because I can't see you guys. So it's kind of interesting. In 1774, which is 250 years ago, which is right before basically we got they started to boycott the British goods basically and repel. And so it's kind of we are at the right at the same timeline. And apparently back then was George the Third, King George the Third, that was part of that timeline. So I thought that was interesting what you shared with me, Janina, because I love history.
Hey,
So
can I
anyway,
share something with that?
yeah.
It's interesting. Okay, so I'm glad you did that little research and figured that out, because one thing that's really interesting with me and my sister is when we first started engaging, even just before we first started engaging, the Lord started giving us all of these different downloads kind of about one of our ancestors, Josiah Bartlett, who signed the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, we ended up finding all this stuff and how his daughter was like a really strong Christian. I think probably a mystic, because all of these things she prayed were really powerful. And also one of the angels that I was assigned, actually the first one I ever met, was also assigned to them. And so, anyway, it's so strange, but you're talking about these 10 generations and the redeeming the timeline for these generations. And I just wonder because since then, I mean, that I know of, any of my family I've ever known before then has been like anti-Christian or Masonic, Masons, stuff like that, like until us. And my generation changed everything. I mean, and so anyway, it's interesting you're talking about redeeming the timeline and then you going back to the beginning of our nation and all of that, because that's probably 10 generations for me. Anyway, it's just really interesting you're talking about that.
Well, it's interesting because right now there is already a war starting with the tariffs and the export and all these things that China and another country they're being concerned about. Again, the doing goods and making money off exchange of goods. And I thought it was interesting that you saw us having this smoothie and everybody has had their own ingredient, right? But it was about altering the timeline. So I'm wondering if there is something that the Lord is asking us to do to alter the timeline, not just going backward, but moving forward to where, we don't repeat the same mistake that we repeated in the past type of thing, that is will that this country turn the direction he wants it to be from how this country was founded, to put God first. And I think he's in Oklahoma. One of the mayors, of the state, he actually put the Bible back to school. It is now I thought that was amazing, because that is almost unreal that he was able to do that. And he has that, and I've been praying about that it will be in all states, that it will be like consider a historical document. So therefore, brought back into the school system because of that it can be relied upon. Anyway, so what I did get, it was a little bit more personal. But it was about, destiny being fulfilled. Somehow I saw feathers, or that looks like bird feathers, but like a bird feathers, like an eagle's. And I felt like the Lord was been restoring me and rebuilding me and giving me a new anointing that been placed on my life and a new beginning with Queen Esther. What I did hear that is new books have been opened for me of knowledge and understanding. So I'm very glad about that. So that's what I did get. That's all.
Awesome. Okay, Amanda. Oh, you're muted still.
I always have a
There you go.
hard time. I always have a hard time. It's a little bit, it changed my background and everything. Okay.
Oh,
Sorry about that. But so in the beginning, when I started engaging, I was having a hard time. And so when I entered the classroom, it was like everything was muted. And I was like, mute, what does that mean? And then all of a sudden, it was like we were laying down and we had like little blankets on us. And it was like we were being like healed or warmed up. And then all of a sudden, colors started coming in everywhere. And then, we just started, everybody was laughing and talking, and we were engaging with each other. And then I saw all of us engaged together, and we were like in a circle holding hands. And then Yahim said something about the heart of the Father. And I was thinking about, because this song just kept coming to my mind, and it was, I can hear it in my head. It's his goodness is running after me. And, and, and when I engage daily, I'll operate in the heart of the Father. And doing that, whenever I take a step, he takes a step, and he's with me every single step of the way, and this was an example for today was I bought some shoes because I've had the same black pair of shoes that I wear to work for almost 10 years. And it's been very hard for me to find shoes. So I bought these shoes and I wore them the other day. And then for the next couple of days, my legs were hurting really bad. So I decided today I'm going to put these shoes on and I'm going to walk with the Father and he's going to help me through this. So I got up and I went to breakfast with my friend and I wore the shoes and it was like nothing, like they didn't hurt or anything like that. And so it was just reminding me of that, and it was just, you know, his goodness is always following us, always chasing us, and we're in the heart of the Father. And when we place ourselves there, he's always with us. No matter what we're doing, he's always going to be with us and he's going to be operating with us. And I say operate because we're constantly operating in something, we're constantly ministering to somebody, or we're constantly in our lives, everything that we do, we are a testament to other people because of who we are. We're part of the kingdom and we're sons and daughters. Well, we're sons of the Father, so. And then I think that was it that I saw, just really all of us just sitting together and just being one together, that was all I saw.
Nice.
Oh, but when I heard about you saying the 200 years ago, I also thought about uh, Civil War, and then you started talking about war. And so just, and what you said about praying on those things, because we don't know what's gonna, happen once the new president comes into presidency.
What size are your shoes?
I
Sorry.
wear a 9. I wear a 9.
9.
Yes.
That's a 9 fruits of the spirit. That's interesting.
Oh, okay. I never thought of that.
So then the other question, you don't have to tell us. Think back what happened 10 years ago. Where were you at in life?
Okay. It was a year after I got released from prison.
There you go now. It's a new pathway, like Janine said.
Yes,
Timeline.
it
The
is.
Lord is redeeming the timeline.
Mhm. It is.
That's
Thank
fun.
you.
Yes.
All right. So okay, I can't remember who was in class last week and who wasn't. I know Robert missed because I talked to him about the recording and stuff. Amanda, you weren't here, were you? No, did you happen to watch the recording? I think that's a no. Okay. You're muted again. Anyway.
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right. Well, the other 3 of you at least were here, or I'm pretty sure you were all here, right? Yeah. Janina, you were not? Okay. You were here.
So I was here, but Renelle wasn't here.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, for you 3 at least, and Robert, maybe I don't know if you had time to do any of this since we just talked yesterday, but I would like for you guys to share some of your experiences with not only recognizing your triggers, but dealing with them. And then also recognizing the glimmers as well. Okay, can you think of this? Hopefully you guys were doing this throughout the week like you were supposed to. Yeah, your face was like, oh crap. Okay, well, I know Patricia at least was doing this because I met with her right before this. And so, Patricia, would you share with the class some of your stuff, please?
So what I did want to share, Yeah. So when she was talking about, are you running by your big feelings, right? And recognize your triggers and your glimmers and your triggers, basically. One thing that came to my mind, when I was a kid, I went in the store with my mom and my brother, or maybe, maybe 7, 8. And it was an expensive store. We started looking for coats. And the security started looking at us and my mom and us both. And I guess they thought that we were trying to steal or something. And so since then, obviously they didn't do anything, they didn't arrest or anything, but that feeling of when I go in an expensive store, I always need to make myself aware that, I got my hands free, I'm not stealing anything. It was always kind of subtle thing. It was always with me. And whenever I would go to the expensive store, I started to feel like I needed to overcompensate that and make sure they didn't think I was stealing or anything funny going on. And so I took care of that last week because I'm like, I belong in expensive stores. and to buy things for me and others. So I'm like, that was the glimmer for me because I'm like, I live with it. I know it was funny because I kind of felt that where it happened, what came from, but all these years I never dealt with it or addressed it. But now light bulb came on. I said, well, you need to take care of that. So that was one that it was addressed. And another thing I had an issue. Well, I'm not going to go in all of the detail, but disrespect is a big thing for me. It was a big thing. And when, for instance, I don't know, I go into a store and I open the door for someone and they don't say thank you, or I try to go into the stores and they don't, they're going in and they don't hold the door for me. It's small stuff. They don't say thank you. It was like it aggravated me, and it was like, it was a fear. It was a fear of not being enough, that I should be respected. And so actually I've noticed that doesn't trigger me anymore like it used to the point, I think actually happened yesterday. And I was trying to get into the store and people were coming out, and I opened the door for them instead of them open it for me. I opened it for them. And I felt good about it, and now when people do go ahead of me in the line, I don't try to, make it a point of, oh, well, I was ahead before. I was like, really offended by that. So I think that what the Lord has been highlighting to me more is to address these little, life suckers, so to speak, that really don't help me in my life. So that's what happened. There is more stuff, but it's a little bit heavy. So
It's okay.
Christine knows about it.
I do. I want to emphasize, since Robert and Amanda, you both didn't hear this, and I guess Amanda, you've been through it before, so maybe you do. The point of going into the deeper inner healing is to be able to fully be able to minister to people in the places that they need healing. Because one of the things that you will see is you are not able to minister to those who you have something in common with, like in a bad way. Okay. Like, for instance, if you don't have healing in this certain area, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to minister to them in their healing, because the Lord won't let you. First of all, the Lord won't let you, but there also is this spirit that is able to attack you when you try to do that. And so it's important to be able to do the really deeper inner healing so that you will be able to fulfill your destiny and help others as you're ministering to them. Because one of the problems that we have is a lot of times we will stuff these things. So we talked about another thing we talked about is like recognizing when you turn to other things to try to minimize your feelings. Like I was explaining, when I feel overwhelmed in my feelings because of something, I have a tendency to play games on my phone to try to feel less. And you know what I mean, feel less, not like feel less than, but like make my feelings not so overwhelming. And so
Yeah.
when I do that, though, I'm not actually processing the feelings at all. And so I'm basically suppressing the pain and suppressing whatever it is to be able to get through life. But what's happening is that stuff is building up on the inside. And so it's important that we recognize these triggers, these little triggers to big triggers. It doesn't matter if it's big or little, but to recognize them and go, oh crap, there's something. I got to deal with that. And then actually deal with it instead of covering it up. Oh, I got to feel less. Oh, I'm fine. Even if it's just like, I mean, I have seen myself do this. I get really, really upset at drivers who are reckless. And like, when I say reckless, like going 100 miles an hour down a 30-mile-per-hour road, that stuff, it makes me mad. And I will see somebody and I will speak death over them immediately and then have to go, oh, sorry, no, you're not going to kill yourself. You're going to be fine. And I'm trying to undo my response. My response is to say how stupid they are or how they're going to kill themselves or kill other people or whatever. And I'm speaking out these things that are just as bad as what they're doing. And so I have to catch myself in these times and go, why am I reacting like this instead of just covering them with angels or something? Like, wouldn't that be the smarter thing in the spirit, is to cover them for their safety and to cover others for their safety in that sort of situation instead of immediately jump to cursing? There has to be something in us that is causing that. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that because going through these triggers will seem like, okay, inner healing, duh. But it's just important that we understand, if we are being trained in ministry right now to be able to minister to others, you have to be able to train yourself. You have to be able to go, that is something I need to deal with. That is something I need to deal with. We have to be the people that go after inner healing more than anybody else. That has to be who we are. Because if we don't, we won't be effective. We won't be effective in the kingdom if we don't actually go after this with the Lord. Yeah. Okay. That's all. Now, Patricia, would you nominate either Janina or Yachim? I see Janina is moving, so maybe
But they already spoke.
They did not.
Janina,
We talked about the engaging, but we did not finish talking about the homework. And so
the homework. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yachim, you go. Please.
I mean, there are a few things about is what the Lord has set me free from. But this week I found out like a hidden anger, and the Lord was showing me where it's coming from. Basically, I'm never used to people coming back after hating me, say, "Hey, I'm sorry that I did this. I'm sorry that I did that." And this thing will build up, like I will feel. It's like, So there's the neighbor story triggered the very same thing, and I had to check myself. Okay, Lord, what is happening? But a lot of things, I think Robert helped me a lot with it, and Christine played a very important role. But I think I was people pleasing. I was pleasing people because of fear of losing people in my life. So I didn't care if they did me like a crap or whatever. I will suck it up as long as the next person is happy and I'm not. But this thing is like I'm saying, the with it. And I had to really put myself first in many of these things. And like I really have to thank the Lord for Robert for that, because he took me through all these things, and I'm really thankful. But on the lighter note, recently I told Christine, because Christine was working with my blood a lot, which is a glimmer, right? The Lord healed me from sickle cells, which is something that does not get healed. You know, I was battling, and Christine was always working with my blood and healing me from that. And whenever I will encounter things that are, maybe I'm in a difficult situation, I will always remember the goodness of the Lord and what the Lord has took me through. And I remember at some point I was paralyzed because of the kind of music I was doing. I was a vegetable, and the Lord healed me back again. These are the glimmers that I'm looking into, and I see these things. The Lord has been really good. I'll be in a very difficult situation that threatens my life, which is the end of it was death. But somehow I will overcome that. I will always overcome that. And I see that as the goodness of the Lord, or the glimmers, because no matter how hard death came hard on me, the Lord will always, help me to have the upper hand over that. And I'm really thankful for the Lord for that. So I didn't get that much, but hidden anger was very interesting. I didn't know that I have that. I couldn't get over that thing. It's like, no, this lady, even when I'm not thinking of it, this thing will play in my mind. I'm like, okay, Lord, okay, what is this thing? What is happening? And I knew what triggered that and what this hidden anger comes from. And I was able to deal with it, and now I'm in a better place.
Yay. That's awesome.
When you were speaking, I was thinking I was reading Proverb today, and he was talking, and I had a problem with anger too. It was a lot of resentment because I was a people pleaser a lot. And it was saying something to the effect about anger, that when you handle anger, you're able to conquer a city. And I thought that was interesting, because I'm like, that talks about authority. And there are places in my life that God had been trying to give me authority, and I had a struggle to take authority over it. And I'm going back to a place where I had a lot of warfare and problems, but being able to handle that anger that I had within me, that then manifested in organs as well in my body, that is giving me authority over a city, over the territory, basically. So I thought that was interesting. It came to my mind when you were talking.
Very, very. And I think, like, now this heart thing, cultivating it and dealing with certain things in our hearts, and I think is part of that. It feels like, and is something that is happening, that the Lord really is healing us, because we can't really function from a place of hurt and
Yeah.
brokenness. We really have to be healed in order to do the work of the Lord, because these things will hinder us to be effective in what the Lord has called us to do.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's a good word, especially you're talking about, you talked about when you engaged today about expanding our hearts, or the expansion of our hearts, and then cultivating the garden of our hearts and stuff. And something I think on a soul level, how our spirits and our soul are connected is in the garden of our hearts.
Oh.
And it is a literal place, but it is somewhere you can access anytime with Yeshua. And there are things that are planted in the garden of our hearts that need to be uprooted. A lot of times people are planted in our hearts that need to be uprooted. And it's like they are plants like a carrot or something, where you will see the top and then down below, there's more that you're not seeing from the top. You know what I mean? And those things have to be plucked out and thrown over the fence. Or sometimes he'll even have you like burn it in a place or something. But then also going back to the glimmers, there are things that need to be planted in the garden of your heart. And there are things that you have. Okay, let me say this. One of the things you talked about, Yachim, is looking back at all these things that the Lord has done and how they are glimmers. And here's what I think. When you are struggling to see the glimmers now, it is good to look back and remember the glimmers that you have seen. But it's also so important to every day try to find the glimmers, because you will not be planting the good things of the Lord in your heart if you don't recognize them in the moment. And so as you go on your day, even if you don't leave your house, you're in your house, and I'm going to use you as an example, Yachim. I have no idea what you're doing today, but let's just say you are in this hot room and you are stuck in this hot room all day. Okay. Here's what you're going to do. You are going to be thankful that you have a rag that you can wet that is bringing you coolness. And you're going to just go, wow, Lord, thank you for that little glimmer. Thank you for that. Wow. Thank you for bringing this class to me of people who can encourage me. Even when I can't go out, I will be thankful for these things. Whatever it is, you could find a million things. I do this with my kids when we get grouchy, okay, or anxious or whatever. I've told you guys, you cannot have anxiety and gratefulness at the same time. It's actually impossible in your brain. And so if you are feeling anxious about something, start being grateful. What we do is we take a piece of paper and we start writing down all of the things we're thankful for. Thank you, Lord, for giving us a toilet so we don't have to poop outside. Thank you, Lord, for giving us a bed to sleep on that is comfortable. You know, like every single thing you could think of that you're thankful for. It doesn't have to be huge to be grateful, but thank you, Lord, for doing that for me. I am not homeless and outside. I mean, I have shelter. That is huge. I have a sweater I can put on when I'm cold. I'm cold, and I don't need to be complaining about being cold. I need to be grateful for having slippers and for having a sweater. You know what I'm saying? So taking out the negative stuff, these little triggers, instead of thinking about how cold I am and complaining about this in my spirit and creating more junk in the garden of my heart, I just have to switch it around. Okay, Lord, show me the glimmer. Show me, I need to see that today. So I'm going to be thankful for these things. And then all of a sudden, your body starts to act differently too. And maybe I'm not feeling as cold because I'm not thinking about being cold. I'm thinking about all of these things that are making me warm.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, everything starts to change in our lives. And so it's so important that we try very hard to do it in the present. And then when it seems impossible, to then pull on our past. What are the things I'm really grateful for in the past? What are the things that the Lord has done that are so amazing, right? But those aren't the things we live on. We don't want to live on yesterday's bread. We want to ask the Lord to give us today our daily bread. I need today's bread.
Yes.
And so really try to focus there. Same thing with triggers. I mean, you can think of all the things in the past, and the Lord might bring the things up that are in the present to bring stuff from the past into healing. But we need to recognize here instead of being dwelling on the past stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay,
sense.
Janina, I see you are finally rearranged. So would you like to share your trigger glamour stuff this week?
I would absolutely love to share about my trigger and my glimmers
Okay.
because it blew me away, really. So I'll try to censor the most sensitive parts. This is a very intimate story, actually. Um, I've been listening to Sam Wagner, and he is an Israeli self-proclaimed narcissist and a professor in narcissism and uh, psychopathy or something like that at the University of Tel Aviv. And for years, I haven't listened to his talks because it's so negative. And he was one of the people that said, you cannot redeem a narcissist. The only thing you can do about a narcissist is to run away. And I thought that it was going to be different in my case and that there was going to be a miracle and that I just need to stick it out. So for a long time, I haven't listened to Sam Wagner, but last week there was this talk about narcissism, psychopath, sadist, and masochist. And I listened to it. And the most bizarre thing happened. I started to see these patterns. And I could see how my husband manipulated me, but especially around sex, and how he made me feel so insignificant and pathetic and just unwanted. And as I realized these patterns, as I started to see them, how it wasn't true about me, it just felt like these things fell out of me. Just, I don't know how to explain it. Just this useless, good for nothing unwantedness just disappeared from me. I didn't pray, I didn't engage, I didn't do anything. It just lifted off me. And I thought, I recognized it, I realized it, but I couldn't, I just recognized it. And then the next morning when I woke up, I think I've shared this. Every morning I wake up with this swear word. Really? Is it morning? Does the sun really have to come up now? Can I not just sleep one more night? I am so angry when I wake up. I am like, oh, it's day again. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, wow, the sun is up. It's a beautiful day. Everything in me is responding to this life. And I was thinking, what happened to me? I'm not angry. And every morning I wake up so happy. And that anger is just gone.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You know what's cool is that all of that happened because the truth was revealed.
It's true.
That's so cool.
Yes.
Huh. Well, I love that.
Yeah,
Can I
me
tell you
too.
something funny? I listened to a guy talking about perspective, and you just reminded me of this with your daily cursing and then now blessing. But he was talking about, he was asking this guy, if I asked you, if would having $1 billion, if I could make your business produce $1 billion in 10 years, would that make you happy? And he said, well, yes, of course. How do you feel about if I said I could do this, and all you have to do is get through this next 10 years? Would that make you happy to do that? And he's like, absolutely, yes. Would you do anything for that? Yes. Okay. If I gave you $1 billion today, would that make you happy? Yes, of course, that would make me happy. Would it be like the best thing you've ever had happen? Absolutely, it would. So now, if I gave you $1 million today, but you had to not wake up tomorrow, it would be your last day today. Would you take the $1 billion for that? And he's like, absolutely not. And he said, so you're saying waking up tomorrow makes you happier than $1 billion? And he's like, I guess so. And he said, well, then how come you are not exceedingly happy every day when you wake up to have another day? And he's just like, that should make me the happiest, all of a sudden it's this change of perspective that actually it is better than that. It's better than $1 billion is waking up every day. And it's so interesting that we would choose that over the other, clearly, but we think it's nothing. It's just nothing. It's not worth anything. It's worth everything, Interesting. I was just thinking about that and how your perspective is the only thing that was changed.
Correct.
It was only your perspective of knowing the truth about who you are, and you saw the patterns, you saw what was done, and you realized that's not who I am. It's that easy. It's just a change of perspective, and now all of a sudden I'm grateful. Amazing.
And if you think about it, changing your timeline is also just changing your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can take what happened and envision it differently, then you've changed the timeline. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between the reality and the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that easy to change your timeline.
That's so cool.
And I think that's what I saw, with the 10 blenders, with the basic ingredients were the same, just everybody had a different. The one had cocoa nibs, the other one had a banana. And it was like, try it. Try put in a different ingredient and just do the experiment and see what you think of the outcome. It was an easy thing to do.
That's awesome. Okay, Robert. I see you had your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is coming back to something that I felt like God showed me was I would hear a lot of people say, I'm thankful for what I have, and would say that. And that's a good perspective. That's a good, thing, but it used to aggravate me. And like, why does that aggravate me? And the reason why was because I was seeing other people that I felt like they had more. And then when I would look at my own life, I would say, well, I'm going to be thankful for what I have, and it felt like inside there was a frustration I had, and I couldn't understand the frustration because I was going, this is good logic. This is a good practice, is to be thankful for what I have, just to generalize, to have a different like perspective, or, the way you look at it, And then I realized one day that it was actually God that was creating the frustration in me, because what I was doing was, when I would just go to the situation where I was saying, well, I'm thankful for the little that I have. I'm thankful for this, and it's like I settled. And God was saying, I don't want you to settle. I don't want you to settle. And then I was like, well, so should I not be thankful? And what he showed me was, he said, yes, you should be thankful. But he said, to step into the true now, the reality of what really is now, who you really are, what you really have now, everything that you are fully connected with, everything that you are one with, everything that, it's like stepping into the heavenly realms. And when you step into that thing, it's that reality of like you see who you really are. You see how connected you are to every blessing, everything that's there. And, even the word salvation and the Aramaic means to remember your origin, So what was the blood supposed to do? What kind of salvation is it really bringing? Is it just, that when I die, I'll go to heaven, or is it me awakening to the reality of all that is there? Does it mean it's exactly manifested right there in front of me at that moment? Probably not. But the reality of it, it is now. It is not a future thing. It's not like something of whatever. But when I started to simply say, okay, now I can be thankful for the now. That is the reality of who I am. So it's like I stepped into another realm and became thankful for who I really was. I started to be thankful for what I really had, not the earthly perspective. The earthly perspective is going to tell you, you only have so much, you only have this, like that. But, like in scripture, it says that we have all things in him, that we have all this, and it was like God really started showing me. And he said, you want to have faith in it, but you haven't even just simply thanked me for it. And I was like, wow. So I started out as a practice to start to just say, God, I'm thankful for what I'm one with. I am thankful for what you have made me to be, who I already am. I am thankful for what I am connected with the reality of this realm. I am thankful. And to me, it seems to be like activating what's actually in my life. But because I was taught more of the religious thing was saying, just be thankful for, the things that you see around you. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm not trying to condemn that.
I'm like, yeah, you're talking about what I just said.
Yeah. It's the mentality. It's the mentality of just, you can start to accept your natural settings, or you can accept your now reality. It's not your future. Okay. Don't go and start saying, I'm thankful for what will eventually happen. That's not what God wants you to do, because God doesn't want you to live in the future. He doesn't want you to live in the past. He wants you to live in the now. The now is that everything that's prophetic in your life, prophetic words are not, it's going to eventually happen. Okay. Prophetic words are the reality of now. It's the reality of what is there now, So it's like calling forth what he said and what is into the reality of now, but it's that thankfulness, it's that whole personality type thing. But I could not accept for years. I didn't know why I had just this attitude about thankfulness. And then God really started showing us, because I saw it more in a religious manner. I saw it as, like I only have a little, but I'm going to be thankful for the little I have, and, and there's a respectful thing for that, because I am saying, hey, I am thankful for the provisions that I have already received. But the reality was I was limiting myself. So, yeah. And that was what I was hearing you say, but I just felt like I don't know why it was like to want to express it that way, that the way that God had put it in my heart.
Okay, thanks. Cool. Well, how about let's kind of a little bit switch gears, okay? Feel like it's related, but in a little slightly different way. What we're going to talk about today is sharing in each other's burdens. And it isn't just between us. It's about the importance of doing this with the Lord, with heavenly beings, and with each other. And The reason we're going into this is that we need to be able to recognize what it is to share in someone's responsibilities versus sharing in someone's burden. Okay. And I will say this is something that for me has been one of the most difficult things to overcome because of my personality. Now, you might be like, yeah, this is easy for me, no big deal. Okay. But it might be something that's difficult for you too. And you need to be able to recognize the difference and how to work through it, especially as we minister to others. Okay. So, what I mean by this is we know that we are supposed to share each other's burdens, right? Help carry one another's burdens. A burden is something that is too big for someone to handle. Okay. If you have a burden, it's like carrying a big boulder. You cannot do it on your own. You have to have help. You need people to share in the weight of the burden to get through it. But if you have a backpack of stones that the Lord has given you that you are supposed to carry, I should not be given my backpack of stones to Yachim to carry when it's my responsibility. Does that make sense? But a problem of mine has been in the past and still is sometimes, although I'm way better than I was, that people will ask me to carry their responsibilities, and I will think I'm not being a good Christian if I'm not carrying their burdens. But the thing is, I'm not recognizing the difference between a burden and a responsibility. So I want to give you an example of something that just happened to me. Okay. And Robert, you already know a little bit about this, I think. I was talking to you on the phone about Mr. Kenya. Okay. I'm going to call him Mr. Kenya. He's this guy who connected with me on Facebook like millions of people do. And he said like maybe a couple things to me in the past, like in the past few years, said like, oh, that was an amazing Shabbat revelation. I said, thanks. He said, welcome. That is the extent of our relationship. Okay. I do not know this guy, nothing. Well, he messaged me and said, he's coming to the United States and he would love to connect. Great. Sounds good. Cool. I'm open to that. Well, then it comes down to he's now going to stay for 20 days. And 20 days staying with me is a long time. And not only staying with me, he wants to stay in my house with me because he doesn't have the money. He has the money to fly here, but he doesn't have the money to actually get his own accommodations. His responsibility has now become my burden, is how it felt. Okay. Because now I'm trying to carry his responsibility of finding a place to stay and also now entertaining him for 20 days, and all of everything is now all of a sudden a burden that I'm carrying because he's not carrying his own responsibility. So anyway, I was struggling with this and feeling really overwhelmed, and it was so simple, like tell the guy, no, you can't do this. Okay. It was that simple. But really, I was taking on someone else's responsibility. And I said, I'm sorry, but I don't have room in my house. I've told you that. And so you're going to have to find your own accommodation. If you want to come here, you're going to have to find your own accommodations. And he started begging me and then turning things all romantic. And I'm like, sorry, nope, not doing this. That is not, I now see the true colors. You know what I'm saying? And I said, sorry, you shouldn't come here. I'm not interested in this. And this is not the relationship that we have. I don't even know you. And I think what happens is we take people's pushing through our boundaries as, please take this. It's such a burden for me. I don't have a right. I need a ride, whatever. You have a million things that people will ask you for. And you have to go, okay, is this something that I need to share their burden? Or is this something that is their responsibility and I'm trying to take on their responsibility? Because sometimes getting a ride is really a burden. Like my friend Andrea just was driving all the way to Arizona, had her tire blow out. Her husband tried to change the tire and the spare didn't fit. And she is now in the middle of nowhere and needs a ride. That is a burden that she needs help carrying. But if she just needs a ride to Arizona because she wants to go to Arizona, that is her responsibility that she's supposed to carry, right? And so we have to learn, what is the difference? What's the difference? Lord, can you show me? Is this something I'm supposed to be carrying? Or is this something that I need to be letting them carry? Because if we start carrying someone else's responsibility, they don't deserve, or they don't start developing those muscles they need to actually carry it. You know what I mean? If we carry all of it, our muscles get really strong and sometimes even worn out. But their muscles don't develop because they're not carrying the responsibility they're meant to carry. That being said, we have a tendency as people who minister to others to carry too much, carry lots of people's burdens and responsibilities and our own, to where we now are trying to take care of our own burden and we don't ask for help for carrying our burdens. So we start getting really worn down. We start freaking out. We start drowning, whatever it is, because we aren't willing to ask for help. A lot of that has to do with community. Many of us don't have the community to be able to do that. I just did Ministry 201 earlier on the Essenes. Do you guys remember this lesson about the Essenes? I know Amanda does, because she's the one who basically made it happen years ago. Can you believe it was years ago, by the way? But anyway, she made that happen a long time ago. And I need you guys to remember probably the most important thing about the Essenes. There are lots of really good things, and I have learned even more this year on it. But one of the main things is they shared everything in common as any had need. No one had too much. No one had too little. That's how it was. That was their community living. This is very important for us because we are supposed to be, I found out, I don't know if you knew this because I didn't know, we have Essenes in our classroom, like literally from the Cloud of Witnesses. We have them in our class. I had no idea. Okay, first of all, no idea. We also have angels that worked. I don't know. Another thing about the Essenes is they worked alongside angels all the time. That was a normal thing. That's who we are too. And I was shown today that the angels that were working with the Essenes are working with us now. And so that's really awesome. I didn't realize all that. I kept going, God, why is this important again? This is what I was doing to him last night. Okay. I'm like, Lord, I do not get the importance of this. Why are you still asking me to teach on this? And then he just kind of started connecting dots. But the whole point is, we are supposed to live in community like the Essenes, to share as any has need. If someone has too much, they give. If someone doesn't have enough, they take. And it is not something that is selfish. Everyone gives and everyone receives. That's important. So each one of us have different gifts that we are supposed to be giving. And each one of us has other needs that we're supposed to be receiving. But how the heck are we supposed to know about it if we don't share each other's burdens? Right? I mean, I can look around this very small room and see that I don't know most of your burdens, which is crazy. I would consider all of you to be close. And to think that I don't know how I could help you, like, what is it that you really need? I was thinking this about myself. As we were engaging in the heavenly classroom, I'm like, Lord, I need the downloads. What am I supposed to be, teaching on? And I already knew like the subject, but I didn't know what he was wanting to pour out. And he started showing me my own burdens. I want to be vulnerable and share. Okay. I don't want to. That's a lie. I don't want to, but I will be vulnerable and share because I am also obedient. But this last month, November, has been, oh yeah, sorry, I gotta get a Kleenex. It has been a struggle financially. Now, am I dying? No, I'm fine. Okay. But it has been a struggle. I have had a lot of people who have not paid for these ministry classes who are supposed to. And it's not just that. This has been a theme. So, like, all throughout doing this ministry school, this has been a problem. I have had lots of people who have not paid from years back still. And this probably to some of you seems like no big deal. Of course, why would it be a big deal? This is my only income. I have a family. It has become a burden. Not a burden to teach. It's become a burden because I have had these things basically withheld. So that means stolen from me. I'm not accusing anyone or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's just been the enemy has stolen from me. I have a court case. This is what the Lord was reminding me of as we were engaging. I have done a court case for lost and stolen things. And I have not thought of calling that in for this. This is something that I haven't thought to do because I wasn't sharing this with all of our class. Just engaging with our class and sharing in the classroom. A lot of these things started to come like that I needed. I needed that reminder to do that. I also needed to know I have angels that are really there to bring things back to me that are supposed to be mine. Also, I was shown that I need to call on you guys to partner with me to call it in the spirit. To just in the spirit call forth all the people to be faithful. To send money, if they need money, to have money given to them to be able to. It's not just about me, but like, let's have the abundance like it's supposed to be. I need to have that. And there have been others who have other responsibilities in our school who have not fulfilled their responsibilities. And these things, they have to be returned. It has to be returned. Everybody who is supposed to pitch in needs to pitch in. And this is something we each have gifts. We all have different gifts to give. We have to do our part. And so for you to share in my burdens, you need to engage in the heavenly realms and ask the Lord, how am I supposed to partner? What's my part? What do you want me to do? Because I'll bet that many of you get stuff that I don't even think of. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the body. And as Essenes, sharing as any has need, I'm saying I have need. And I need to ask you to help bring this stuff in. I am not asking you to send me $1 million. I'm saying just help me in the spirit get what I'm supposed to have. Okay. Each of you probably have a burden. You may be like, hey, I feel great today. Cool. That's awesome. I'm not trying to make you have a burden, but at the same time, you might have a burden that you've been carrying and not really thinking about. Because if you would have asked me before we engaged today in the classroom, I wouldn't have even thought to bring that up. I wouldn't, it hasn't been like weighing on me every minute that, so that I am always thinking about and always needing to ask for help. No, I'm not even thinking. I'm just like, hopefully it's fine. Like I'm going around life like the Lord provides, it's good, it'll be fine. I do that in my mind because it's true. He does always provide for me. But I also have a tendency to push those aside because I don't like sharing my burdens. I'm supposed to be the one that always helps everyone. That's what I see in my mind, right? But if we all share as any has need, then each one of us is a minister and each one of us is one who receives as well, right? So what I would like for you to do now is really ask the Lord to show you what is a burden that you have that you need to share. Okay? I'm going to give you just like 1 to 2 minutes right now to think about what you can share with the group. And if you really have nothing, that's okay. But I want you to be vulnerable. You probably don't have to bawl like me, but do your thing. And then let's share. All right. You guys ready to share? No nods. There's one nod. Okay. Janina, please, would you share?
So before I share my need, I just want to say that on Thursday, logistically, this might not, maybe I must just explain this. So on Thursday, I flew to Durban, but I had to drive to PE, to Port Elizabeth, which is like a 3-hour journey, plus the 1 hour I lost in the roadworks made it 4 hours.
Wow.
And then I flew with only hand luggage. So I had to pack really very meticulously, and I could only take one pair of shoes. So I had to pack for 7 days in a very small suitcase, and I did it. But when I got here, from all the walking at the airport, my shoes started to hurt me. And because this is like tropical, the climate here, so I came from winter to high summer, and I'm not used to the shoes. So I got a blister before I actually arrived at the place where I'm staying. And then the next day, I went barefoot to the restaurant where I had to meet my friends. So we are three friends that came. The friend that we came to visit, both her sisters died in the last year, and she's taking strain, and we haven't seen her for 38 years. So it's like a real reunion. And I met her with bare feet, and during the day, I said, I'm sorry, I'm not wearing any shoes, but I've got a blister and only one pair of shoes, and I can't wear it because it's too sore. And she gave me a pair of flip-flops. And as I'm sitting here in this room,
That's fun.
I'm just blown away. And somebody typed in here flip-flops, and I'm like,
I
what's
know,
this
I
sign
know
above
you
my
did
head
it.
saying flip-flops?
It says, I can tell Robert can't tell what it said. It says,
What does
life
it
is
say?
better in flip flops. That's what.
And I'm like, what does it say above your head?
It's really insane.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Provision.
Wearing flip-flops. I wear them a lot here in in the warmer weather.
That's
That is so
Okay.
funny.
So that was just a nice advertisement break. I am having a high court case on the 3rd of December. And I have got to print out the affidavit that is like the 8th affidavit that we're adding to the ones that I already have. But I'm in Durban, and here I am far away from everything. I need a printer to print it out. I need to take it to a police station to be verified, and then I need to scan it in. And this has to be done tomorrow morning as soon as possible, because that still needs to go to the High Court so that they can review it, so that I can start benefiting from what we're arguing for on the 3rd of December. It's very practical, but
I have a
that's my
question.
need.
So you have to take it to the police station to be verified. Can you do that in Durban?
I can, but I first have to find a place to print it out tomorrow morning before I can take it to the police to verify.
Easy. Okay. Immediately, I knew that you were supposed to talk to the people at the hotel. So go to the front to your hotel and ask them where you can print. That's all. I knew that that's what you were supposed to do. And I feel like this is easy, that this is not difficult. So the Lord will provide a clear, easy path.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. I had the same thought, actually.
Awesome.
It was Christine talking to you. Through your brain waves.
My vibes are strong.
But wait a second. What about the 3rd, December 3rd, that you have the high court case? Is anything that we need to be concerned about that? That you share a burden?
I think we've gotten enough beings on that case.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
Good.
But if anybody has some insight, I'm welcome to.
Well, I will speak
actually,
favor over you. That's I can definitely do that. I will speak favor over you, and that
thank you.
to go in the direction of God's leading. Yes, and thank you for telling me. I'll put it on my calendar too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janina.
Yep.
I just saw you being wrapped in a blanket, a warm blanket, and there was like two, two, I don't know if it was angels or beings that just came and put that little warm blanket over you and just like a comfort, like a peace.
And I don't know what happened to you, but you look so much younger. I don't know if it's the hair that you cut. It's just you glowing. You look like you lost weight. I don't know what to tell you, but you just look different. Younger. You look so much younger, Janina. I don't know what happened. From last week that you couldn't stay awake to today. I
Well,
got to
I've
just
been on holiday for 3 days. That
then I
might
guess
make a
you needed
difference.
a holiday. You need a vacation.
That's funny. Awesome.
Well,
Okay.
thank
Who
you.
wants to go next?
Anybody?
I was
Okay.
trying to unmute. Are you gonna go or you want me to go?
No, go ahead, please. I,
All
I
right.
can.
So I mean, I always I always carry this burden of my legs. And because I was thinking about other things. And then, I ran to the bathroom real quick and then the father was like, "Yeah, but you always carry this thing." And it's like I'm it's like I'm reaching for the healing and I know it's a process. But then now I'm starting to feel the burden of, oh, that's all you talk about. Oh, that's all that's, every time you're talking about something, it's about that, and I remember a couple of years ago, when we would go and do like prison ministry or we would talk to other people in different settings, and I talked about that one time about my leg and what happened. And one of my friends, or he was in the ministry with us, and he said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "you just need to get over that." He said, "You always talk about that all the time, you know." And then later on, somebody came up to me and they were like, "I'm glad that you shared that. It really helped me a lot." And he happened to be like close by there. And I said, "Well, I said, um, it's a testimony for somebody, even though that it happened a couple of years ago, it's a testimony for somebody to help them." So, but lately I've been feeling like, um, oh, that's all you focus on. Oh, that's all you focus on. Don't be focusing on that, and it's just like been getting like really difficult, um, as far as that goes. But I know it's a process and I know that the Lord is working with me. And there are some other things, because if I didn't have this certain burden, there's a lot of things that I would never found out about myself. A lot of things like where my bloodline comes from, what lineage I'm in, and just different things like that. And um, I don't know why, but I just love those scenes. I just love them. I remember one time I was engaging, and it was like they were in a village, and I arrived. And the one thing that I always remember was the children coming and running, and they knew who I was, and they were just so like happy to see me, and they were like just welcoming me and, taking me to the adults. And I don't know if you ever seen like when there's an encampment in movies, there'll be like an encampment of like and Indians, like the indigenous, and the children will come running to greet whoever's coming into the camp. And then, they're running down and they're happy and they're laughing and they're going to the adults. And that's the way it was for me when I entered into the village.
That's awesome. Cool. So when it comes to your legs, um, what, I mean, share a little bit more because you're assuming that you have shared a million times with everyone and everyone knows what you're talking about, but I don't think that that's true. So
Correct. I never heard before. Yes, Amanda.
Okay. All right. So, in 2012, I had an accident while I was in prison, and I broke my femur on my left leg.
Oh, wow.
And so, I didn't walk for like 6 weeks, and then, or I don't know how long it was, like 2 months or 3 months. So, anyway, long story short, well, okay, hold on. Let me just, okay. So what happened was that I didn't get proper therapy, and then I didn't properly, continue with like exercise or anything like that on the leg. So when I came home, my leg was still weak, but because of the way my leg was, the way you walk, you kind of favor one side over the other. So my right leg was my strong leg. And eventually, throughout the years, it produced other issues. So now it's my back, and my legs are like, when I get up to walk, they'll be numb or they'll be weak. And so I do a lot of sitting because I work in an office. And I recently changed my chair a little bit. I put like a cushion to kind of like raise me up. And so, I mean, every day is just something different with it. Like it'll be my knee or my left knee or my right knee. And I've gone through chiropractic um, therapy, and I've done Rosti therapy, which is kind of like where they put pressure on the muscles and they put pressure on the skeletal, I guess it is. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure about it. But, and it helped a lot. But then every time that I came to a certain point, then I hit a wall and it just spiraled me back down. And then I start up again, and then I hit a wall, and then I spiral back down again. So I don't know. I feel like that's like a theme for me, is that when people look at me, because I've walked into places and now I'm using a walker, and I walked into places and people just look at me like, why are you on a walker? So then it just, even some of my family members are like, what is this about? And so it just becomes a burden. Did you have any questions? Like, did you have any questions about like what happened? Or
Well, for me, I think that this is important that you share this because each of us have different gifts. And I know even I'm thinking of Janina, who has a lot of healing gifts that could be helpful to you as well.
Yeah.
But that's something we can engage over and see what the Lord leads. If there's anything we can do, if there are angels that we can have come and help, if, there's so much in the heavenly realms, resources to help you. And so that's how we can surround this, is by doing that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to put in, I keep putting our different things in the chat box, you guys. And I hope that you will write them down. I don't know how much time we'll have to engage over each one of these, but I want everyone to engage over these things. Okay. So,
Yes. You know what you were saying about Janine? And when Janine, you were talking about those flip-flops that woman gave to you that was like 38 years ago that you haven't seen her. And when you said 38 years, right? Well, when you say that, I was reminded of the man that was by the pool 38 years to wait for his healing. I mean, it's just, and even as you were talking, Amanda, I was thinking, well, you need to talk to Janina. She got the flip flop shoes.
Yes.
And I'm like, now you, Christine, I don't know what's going on with me today. I'm usually not this talkative, but now you talking about Janina, maybe you need, to hook up with Janina and see if there is anything that the Lord wants to do in the walk area, right? I do know I had a similar situation with my legs a few years ago. It was horrendous. It was witchcraft. And it lasted like for over 2 years. It almost drove me mad, but it had to do with my walk. Well, the thing is that the shoes of peace, and blessed is the one that comes in the name of the Lord. And so it had to do attacking me as well. What was my calling? So I wonder if this thing that now has taken I don't know, a shape of its own with you, Amanda. It started as an accident, but now becomes how you see yourself and how you deal with it. It might be in impacting for your ministry, right? That the Lord has for you. So thank you for sharing that. I had no idea you went through all that. Bless you, sweetheart. That is a lot to take on.
Thank you.
Patricia, will you go next?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh.
So what I'm struggling with, well, first is the move, all the details of the move, the money for the move, the packing, the unpacking. I've been doing moving by myself, so it's a lot taking on my health and on my strength. Somehow always managed. So that's and I'm actually moving on December 7th, but next week I'm going there during Thanksgiving to start to bring most of the stuff. So that is on my mind. And the second part is the financial aspect of my life, which I have certain aspiration and certain plans and things that I want to accomplish that are still not materialized. And so those are the two things that they are, burden to me. They're starting to become a burden, and I just need prayer for, as far as even just releasing it to God on how He wants to do it and the timing and who He wants to bring into helping me. That's all.
Okay. I'm putting this and see if this works for you. Moving and goals to materialize. Is that good?
Financial goals, because then that will, I want to buy a house, for instance. I want to start different things, my own businesses, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, who next? Either Robert or Yachim?
Well, we're going to have 8 minutes here. Anyone want to talk?
Here, Yachim is starting. Yay. Thank you.
I thought Robert was talking first.
Nope.
Okay.
Yachim.
With me it's been about my daughter, and her mom passed away, and she was in another city studying there. And of course, mom had ways and means to provide for her, and plus she was staying with her because she was studying there. Now the mom has passed away, and now I'm left with her, and I'm helping her any way I can. And lately, when was it? This last week. Last week she was called. I think she's got some learnership at this university. It's a hospital in in Bloemfontein.
What's
So
learnership?
they take him. Can somebody, homie, can you explain that? Learnership is like they employ you for a short period of time, but you also get a training and funds. You know, for
It's
that.
like on the job training.
Okay, like
Yes.
apprenticeship. That's what we would call it.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's what is happening, and she told me that, you know, they took me there at Universitas, me and my friend, and Monday last week she went to sign a contract, and that eased a burden just a little bit, but my burden was like concerning her. I wanted to succeed in life and, you know, to do well in life. And yeah, I'm really blessing her every day. I'm blessing them every day, but now she really needs the Lord. So that's what has been burdening me lately. So yeah,
Okay.
just want the best for her. Yeah. So
Uh,
I'm done.
I know. I'm writing the stuff in the chat box. Okay, so I just put oldest daughter who needs the Lord and help and stability. Is that good? I think that's a yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Robert, your turn.
That's
4
okay.
minutes, buddy.
Okay. An old debt that has been hanging over my head for years. And I do feel God's promises. I do feel God's encouragement in this. But I had a time in my life where I felt like God showed me vision for my life. And I said, well, I have 6 obstacles that, you know, like I named 6 things. And literally, he's removed 5 of them. Like he's obliterated 5 of them, you know. And I've been like, oh, so the last one is this debt. So that has been, you know, something that's there. The other one is my oldest son. When he was younger, probably like 12, 14, he had Crohn's and he had a flare up. Then he got medical care and he didn't have any trouble for a long time. And now he is 22 and he's starting to get flare ups again of Crohn's. So it's like been dormant for a long period of time. So I'm definitely praying and engaging and asking God, you know, like what is causing this? What should I do? And I feel like I've gotten some insight, but it is a concern of mine, you know, when you have a child that is really dealing with something that's can be rather painful, you know. Um, he right now is doing okay, but he had just finished a process of taking steroids. Steroids kind of put it in, you know, like it heals everything for a moment, you know, and then after you get off the steroids, that's when the flare up wants to come back, you know. So he's finishing up his steroids now, and I'm just like, you know, thankful that he's feeling okay, but I'm also like, God, there's got to be an answer, wisdom for this. So
That's awesome. Okay. Well, there you go. You guys write everything down, please. Can you do that? Copy and paste it if you need to, put it in a note, whatever you need to do.
Picture. I just took a picture of everything there.
Yes, take a picture. You can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Homie, can you send a picture to me, please? I'm not able to take a picture.
Well, let me take this last one here. Is it Roberts? Oh, yeah. Okay. Alrighty. You'll be able to see it. Yeah, boy.
Thank you for sharing my burden.
Yeah, you are welcome.
Okay, so you guys, this week, I want you to, in our class signal group, I want you to share anything that you get in the spirit or in the natural to help one another with all of these things. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you get something, hey, I was led to do this in the spirit over you, great. If you are like, hey, I really think you need to use these specific shoes, I'm making this up, but you understand, like anything like that, make sure and you put it in there. Let's not get off track on all sorts of other things, but let's keep it focused on this subject in our class this week. Oh, by the way, Robert, I didn't know, but I was lying to you the other day. Robert said, are we going to have class on the Thanksgiving weekend? Which you guys from other countries don't even know what that means, probably. But next week is Thanksgiving for us. And so Thanksgiving weekend, I was planning to have class. And so I said, yes, we are. Sorry. And then the Lord last night just told me, no, you're not having class that week. And so apparently we're not having class that week. Okay. So next week we won't have class. So you have 2 weeks to do all this stuff. So keep focusing. Don't forget. I want you to realize that we are community. We're supposed to be community. Engage with those in the classroom who can help too. Okay. Because we have others in the classroom who can help as well. But let this be sharing each other's burdens and really going after it with each other. Okay.
On the 301 signal. Got it. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. And I will, I guess, talk to you guys later. If you need anything, of course, let me know. And don't forget
So
huh?
December 8th, we'll reconvene.
Yes. And I will tell you guys, December 15th, right? 15th. Let me double check on that date. Yes, I was right. December 15th is graduation. Okay. So all of you are graduating December 15th. Okay. So
Yay.
be sure to be here. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to do things a little differently for graduation than Amanda went through. But Amanda, I want you to be a part of it. I'm going to ask all of our graduates to be a part of it. Actually, anyone from our school can come and be a part of you guys graduating. But that's all it's going to be that day is you guys graduating. So at this time, same time, our 1:00 Central Time is when we're going to be having the graduation. So be prepared. I just want you guys to know this is a very special time. The Lord is going to do something powerful in basically ordaining you. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Lord.